All this technical talk is always very interesting to me, but because we have a limited amount of time, please will you just show me the construction drawings?
Okay, absolutely. Um, the construction drawings is, in any case, the very first part of this project getting to life on site. And very rarely do people see design reports and everything that goes into it. But everybody always sees the drawings then. Just to start off, because during the project kickoff, no architectural drawings were made available. The layout was taken that was provided by the client. I will open that up in a second. During the project brief, this layout was provided by the client, which provides a very basic footprint of the required building. It shows some some preliminary slab dimensions and thicknesses, and some basic requirements that is needed within the structure itself. This layout was then taken further, it was reviewed, some rules of thumb were generally applied, and then slab spans and thicknesses was all verified by calculation. As you can see that there are no internal walls shown yet, so before the loading for the structure could be developed and calculated, especially for the dead loading imposed by the walls onto the floors, a wall layout had to be generated. On the screen in front of you, you will see the proposed wall layout developed by the engineers themselves. And you will see that there is a lift or a staircase on the left-hand side of the structure. And if you move out, you will see on the right-hand side, on your right-hand side, you will typically have these dorm rooms. As you enter, the very first one unfortunately only had space for 2 rooms, but they are significantly larger than the other rooms. And then the rooms moving towards your right hand side of the plan view, as you walk down the aisle, you will see that the structures typically contain 2 bedrooms and a kitchen and a bathroom. On the next layout, you will see the foundation layout. Just note that the very first floor was utilized for parking. So if you move on to the surface bed layout, you will see that there are foundation walls shown and surface beds, but the cars will drive in and park underneath the structure, which is this area. Just note that the parking layout was not done yet, since this has no impact on the structural layout and it's purely an architectural feature for this specific structure. It may be done by a civil engineer, but it falls outside of the scope of this project. Moving back to the foundation layout, you will note that some shear walls were installed within the structure to make sure everything is kept nice and stable, especially against wind loading. Not that we expect any large lateral forces besides wind loading, because as mentioned previously, seismic activity within this region is extremely low and not profound enough to produce any damage to the structure. Let's hope it stays that way. you will see that the staircase starts from the basement level. As you move up, you will eventually land on the ground floor, first floor, second floor, and then the fourth floor. Moving on to the next drawing, you will see a basic slab layout. It's nice and simple. The walls have been omitted for clarity. You will see that we've got nice and slender columns. Obviously not too slender, so they can withstand the designs, but they are not bulky and they are very well hidden within the wall structure of the dorm rooms. You will see that the columns are sized to be 300 by 300 columns. It is a flat slab design, but there is, however, a beam grid underneath the slab. So many engineers might tell you that this does not define the flat slab design. However, it has been designed in panels and there is full moment continuity across the panels. So the reinforcement does utilize the fact that the slab is continuous, which makes sure that we have a little less bending in the middle of our slab and the reinforcement works out slightly less expensive. Going on to the roof plan, you will see that we have allowed for a staircase shaft, and on the section drawings you will see that we have placed a little roof over here so that there is access from inside the building onto the roof structure. At the moment, the loading allowance onto the roof structure is purely for HVAC only, so any air conditioning, etc. And then for people walking out onto the roof to maybe go and have a smoke or to have just a nice overview of the city. It should also be noted that a 1 meter high parapet wall was built across the roof on the perimeter just to make sure that nobody falls off, and the parapet wall is then used to make sure that no water flows from the building and then leaves a mess on the sides of your wall, and it is also there for safety. It should be noted that 50 diameter full bore outlets was installed and in various places, and the pipe work will be installed to run inside and down the columns. On your right hand side you will see a typical section on the staircase. The section will basically depict what we have just discussed. It's starting at the parking bay level. At the bottom here, one will move up from floor to floor, making your way all the way up until you reach the roof level. On the next drawing, drawing 06, this is just a basic cross section of your building showing the foundations. The little bit of layer works that is required. Excuse me for that. Just to make sure we get a nice clean surface to found upon, but it has already been established that we have got an available 200 kPa to found our footings upon, which is absolutely no problem. This what you see on top here is the screed to fall, which makes sure that the rainwater falling onto the roof does eventually land up into the full bore outlets, which captures the water very much like a shower drain and let the water run into the columns, and then the architect will provide guidance as to how the outlet detail should look. But very basically, there will be a pipe coming through the column, making its way onto the external stormwater system, from where the stormwater will flow into the larger municipal system or flow by means of sheet flow onto the external road system. This concludes the presentation. I hope everybody had a good time looking at our engineer's design. Samantha, I hope you did enjoy your presentation on your building, and I'm sure you're looking forward to seeing it all start and seeing the project kick off. There is, however, a management portion of this project which shows that, sorry about that, what measures were implemented to make sure that the project does fall within budget. We had a look at risk. Most of the risk in terms of people getting injured and so on can be mitigated by means of careful planning and making sure everybody wears their PPE. So daily toolbox talks will be held to make sure that nobody gets hurt on site. Risk in terms of timeline is taken care of by making sure that there is a program and each construction step is carefully documented on the program. But however, not just the construction steps were documented, the design development steps was documented and carefully planned. The tender phases is also captured. You will note a typical 2-week tender period was allowed for. There was adjudication, clarifications, and negotiations, and then the contractor appointment. You will note that the construction period was very carefully and meticulously planned, and you will also note that the contractor gets appointed over here just before the December break, and then construction starts immediately after the December break. This now really concludes the presentation on this design. I hope you all found this very interesting, and we are looking forward to start construction early in January. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Samantha, for making your way out here. You all keep well and be safe out there. Thank you.